Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 814. We conclude The Courage That Kills.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant covers. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding.
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I am Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the spectacular sensei of the Whatnot Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we are going to be tackling the last part of Detective Comics 1104 to 1106, which is the finale of The Courage That Kills. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We got some collections of DCKO. We've got DCKO hardcover, 38% off, only $18.59. We've got the trade paper version, 48% off, only $10.39. But we also have DCKO All Fight trade paper, 38%, $12.39. DCKO Battle Royal trade paper, 48% off, $10.39. DCKO Justice League Unlimited trade paper, 38% off, $11.15. And DCKO Superman trade paper, 38% off, only $11.15. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com. I haven't had a chance to talk too much about these DC Compact Comics editions. And with the anniversary of the Batman The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, they have, for the 200-page book, this is $9.99 regularly, 48% off, only $5.19. If you haven't seen one of these are really cool collections. They're smaller sized, but they're called Compact Comics for a reason. And they collect major stories from DC Comics. I've got a couple of these, and I really, really like them. It's a different format, and I've been talking about DC Finest quite a bit. This is a smaller, but I think this is a great way to give comics out as a gift in an affordable fashion, or even as a collector. If you're like, I travel a lot, I'm on the road a lot, I want to take something with me. These fit very nicely in a bag. They're good readers' copies, in the sense like, I want to read this story over and over again, but I want to protect my other ones. This is at $5.19. You could beat this bad boy up. And I really like these. So have you had a chance to get any of these yet, Jim?
No, I keep seeing them, and I'm wondering, I want to maybe dive into them.
Yeah, so it's good if you're looking for a good reader's copy of something. They're smaller, just keep that in mind, but I like them. I like them quite a bit. I grew up with the DC Blue Ribbon Digest, those smaller little digest pieces. I don't know that they're quite that size. I think they're a little bit bigger than those, but it's that concept of collecting stories in a smaller format so that way they're easier to pick up. The affordability of them is great, though. We keep talking about how expensive it is to get in on comics. This is a smart way to say, hey, at $5.19, because I'm $9.99, it's at $10. It's the whole entire Dark Knight Returns. But at $5.19, oh my gosh, like $5 if you want a reader's copy of the Dark Knight Returns. This is the way to grab it, right? They're really cool. So I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you have read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk Detective Comics.
Nice work, Atom. What are these characters up to?
All right, our discussion this episode is going to be a Detective Comics 1104 to 1106, starting with The Courage That Kills Part 4. Tom Taylor is the writer. Mikel Janin is the art, color, and cover. Wade Faucher on inks. Pages 1 through 16 for this particular issue. Wes Abbott on letters, Greg Smallwood, Chris Enka on the variant covers. Jessica Burby is the associate editor, Ben Mears is the editor, Rob Levin is the group editor, Batman created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger, Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. And all right, covers. I got to start with the cover for this one. It is fierce. I love the lion in the background. Kind of at this point, we've established who he is. We've seen his whole look. But seeing that fierce look of Batman, because again, he's losing his fear pieces at this point, which I love how you kind of establish, well, if they have no fear, they're going to be, look at them, they can go into battle. I love that this is giving us a very different flavor. And you alluded to this last episode in really great detail. The fact that this idea that fear, you need fear. You need it to have better judgment, to be able to make, strategic choices. And I love the idea that this storyline, the courage that kills, is what does it mean to be courageous? What is real courage? And to me, the fear fact, overcoming your fears and doing it authentically actually makes you more courageous than having no fear. I love this storyline. I do like on the cover, the lion, written over the cape, kind of flowing over the side of the cape, then that text, the bats, and the way that Batman is kind of almost the fierce look that Leo had of him when he was a kid. It's like, oh, maybe you're creating the person that you feared as a child.
And I love the fact that the inscription that was on the ship in the first issue that's actually what's the writing behind the image of the lion on there. So again, going back to that first issue where he's like, the fear will end Gotham, and all that, and then they'll sign the lion. I love how they put that in there. And then again, just the way the various images of the bats, are kind of like flowing out, and and if you look into the details, you can still see the mass that's there is still made up of little individual bat images. So I was like, man, that is kind of cool. That's a nice setup there.
I've got to see if there's a print of this. This is one, though, like if I can see him at a con, I'm hoping he has this at the table, and because I'd love to have it signed.
Oh, definitely.
Because this is a very, very good looking cover. I hate to say it, I'd like to see it without the logo and all that other stuff. I'd like to just see the print, if that makes sense. The logo's sweet, but it's not what I want on my wall.
Yeah.
But it's really, really cool. So now we're at 4 hours until quarantine. So we're speeding up quite a bit in what's going on. The internal dialogue of Bruce here is really, really critical, because the small fear, or the larger fear, when he would leap off every single time, is, making sure he's checking, all that goes into being Batman when he does these leaps. Yes, he's done them many, many times, but every single time there is that fear that's making him check. He's recognizing that this time, even with the hurt ribs, he is not hesitating in the leap. And I love that he's seeing what's going on with himself and the danger of what is going on with himself. I love this establishment. You mentioned before, like the 30-day, between each issue. It's great to read this without that, but man, this really is helpful in establishing, okay, this is what's going on with him right now, and I love that he's seeing it. I'm going to say it again. I'm broken record. I started last episode with this type of thing. That costume is really growing on me. It's sweet. I really, really like this version of the Bat outfit. The belt has actual detail.
The functional Bat utility belt is always a crucial piece for me as well.
Yes.
The utility belt has to look like, yes, this is actually a functional equipment. And like you said, I love the fact that we're getting this inner dialogue where he's breaking down. I've got to make sure it locks in. I got to make sure my swinging path is free and clear. Little stuff that, you wouldn't think about, now it's being brought to the table. And I love the fact that Bruce is recognizing, I don't have this fear anymore. This is a problem.
You started to talk about this our last episode, about how now we're these thugs from the Lion, how there was no fear in the killing of a father of two and all of those pieces. This is, the abduction of the Scarecrow, getting to know a little bit more about them and their drive and how clearly they're on a version of this infection. And we start to learn more about that there's different variants of this. This one's intended to be a more controlled short-term versus one that is permanent. And what's going on with Bruce is very, very different. I love seeing that before we go into Bruce confronting these thugs.
Yeah.
And him swinging in, there is a point, we saw it with Superman in the Superman issue, where Superman was holding back, but then Batman was in trouble and he kicked it up. Bruce holds back because he does, first of all, does not want to do permanent damage, but also he needs them awake and alert so that way he can question them. So there is a balance in what Batman does that comes from being measured, and there's a fear component of that, of knowing what you can do. When your judgment is now tampered with, he's recognizing that he is not being as careful even with the people that he is going to be interrogating as he was before. I loved this sequence. So good.
100% along with that. And I also love the fact that, Bates gives up the information immediately. There's no hesitation, gives it right up. And Bruce is reminded of what Lois said to him. Are you following clues or are you walking into a trap? And I love the fact that we go back to that same line that, it's like, this is too easy for you to find this guy, and especially a guy who has no fear of the bat is giving up the information freely.
Yes.
So that 100% says this is a trap.
I love the attention to detail of the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
Batman's face. When you see the exposed cowl, he does not have, we're not stopping off for shaving or nothing right now. I got no time to spare. We are 4 hours away at this point. I love that. Back at the Bat Cave, calling Selina.
Yeah.
That bit was a geek out. Boy, they're nailing every single moment you should nail in this. He doesn't have the fear. So now he's calling her. And she's recognizing, I'm used to you standing in the shadows being judgmental. Now he's calling her on the phone. And she's recognizing, hey, are you okay? I love that. Conversation was a really strong one. I want these two together so bad. And boy, did this is built off of everything that Tom King was doing with them that I thought was so good. I loved this. This was really, really well written. A lot done in one page on this one.
And again, Bruce is losing his fear.
Yes.
So this fear that being with Selina would prevent him from being Batman is going away. So he reaches out. And I was like, it's one of those things where you're like, Superman, wrong timing, dude. If Soup hadn't showed up, what would have happened? And I love just that thought going through my head that you're like, oh, dang it. But again, Bruce has to get back to work. Only 3 hours until quarantine. I love that.
The dialogue with Selina. I have to go. You called me. I know. I'm sorry. You're sorry?
Yeah.
I just loved everything about that. And Clark catching that it was Catwoman's voice. All of that stuff is great. Bruce deflecting to, what did you find in Casnia? And getting that piece, which Clark caught. I mean, it just, that stuff was so really well done. Bruce recognizing that, like, I need to put something in place in case I become a problem. We're used to Bruce doing these contingency plans for everybody else. Him giving this to Clark, that jump drive and saying, this is my kryptonite and you're the only one that can open this up. I need you to promise me that you're going to use it. I really dug everything about this.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And I love the fact that Clark set it up so that it can only be opened with somebody who can apply his, Superman's pressure.
Bruce set it up with
yeah.
You said Clark. You said Clark set it up.
Oh, sorry.
Bruce set it up for Clark.
Yeah. Bruce set it up so Clark.
I knew what you meant. I was just I was making sure, because of the fact that we're going out via audio, that everyone knew what you meant, if that makes sense.
Yes. And and again, when you get these moments between Clark and Bruce, you got to love that. And the fact that, it is, and I love the comment that Clark threw back to her. Bruce, would you have trusted me this if the virus wasn't already affecting your judgment? I honestly don't know.
Love that.
I love that moment. I love that moment between the two of them. One, Clark asking him the question, and Bruce being honest enough to say, I don't know. I don't know if I would trust you with this or not. And that for me was just a great moment.
Damian bringing down the gift, which this is pivotal.
Yeah.
The Damien bringing down the gift and going, I ran the standard deep background checks. It was delivered by messenger, bought online, anonymously, no buyer information available. I did see the cost of this. It's more expensive than most cars. Do you have an admirer? And I love, that this right now is a very important series of panels because it's establishing the fact that, and we might as well just go to it, Bruce now has the cure but does not know it.
Yes, I love that. I love the fact that this is the cure, and it's, Leo bringing it to his friend, making sure he's safe, not realizing they are one and the same. It's
right.
Absolutely brilliant storytelling. And again,
and in Bruce's defense, Bruce would not know now that
right.
Leo has this duality with Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It literally is. He has a love-hate relationship with the same man. The quarantine suit that he's building for himself is very cool because he's recognizing I'm at a time deadline and I have to still be out in the field. And he's starting to come up with a plan. Yeah. And this is Batman. As usual, there's got to be a contingency plan. There's got to be something that will keep me functional. And, in light of light of the lack of a cure right now, he has to do something because this isn't about him. This is about all of Gotham. And that's the piece that's really I love about this because it's so Batman. He's not driven by a cure for him. I mean, obviously he wants to be cured, but he's driven by saving the city so that way it doesn't get destroyed by all of this. The threat to the city is the bigger concern of his right now. I've got to keep myself up and running at all costs so I can help bring down this threat to my city. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, and I love the dialogue between him and Damien.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like, aren't you worried that once you put this on, you may never take it off? And he's like, no. He's like, you should be. And I love the fact that Damien recognizes you should be afraid of this, but you're not. And then I love when Damien goes in for the hug just in case, and Bruce hugs him back just in case. And I'll tell you something, I didn't catch it the first time.
Yeah.
Damien is not acting like Damien here. Damien wouldn't give his dad a hug just in case. It's always father, There's always Damien. It's Damien. Damien's got different personalities. And we later learn why. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that is brilliant.
And it's more subtle with Damien.
Yes. But again, this right here is just an emotional outpouring on Damien, which he normally never would do. But he's doing it now. And I love the fact that, we're seeing that and we get the explanation later on why, Damien actually had the emotional outpouring. And, and again, it's just a hug for us, but to him, this is something huge. Both he and Bruce, this is a huge emotional outpouring that both of them have. And I love seeing that because, again, it's a simple hug, but for them, it's more. And I love that.
For Bruce, this off-road version of the Batmobile, it's kind of part tumbler, part sports car, part Jeep. I love everything about this vehicle because it looks like he pulled this one out specifically for this type of terrain. I love every bit of this.
Yeah.
It's really, really a cool piece. And he's reminding himself, don't leap before I look. But everything about this screams ambush.
Yeah.
And I love it. The lion knew I was coming. The scarecrows that are there are all setups. It's such a very cool event. Again, another trap that has been laid for Batman that he's walked right into, but he knows. And I like that there's a difference in the way that he's operating right now because he knows what's going on. I also like there's a difference in the way that he's operating because he has no fear. He knows he has no fear, and he's trying to use logic to counter it, which he's referenced multiple times. I love that aspect of this and how it plays out. This just hits differently, and it's so cool.
Oh, God, yeah. And I love the fact that the bad guys are also under the no fear, virus.
Yes.
So they're not going to stop at a, 2-ton truck coming at them. So Bruce, that's again, something bad guys would jump out of the way.
Sure.
No, they're not. They're 100% attacking. So they're going to jump on this moving truck. And so Bruce has got to take him down. And again, he does because he's Batman, but there's still, other problems that are going on. I love this.
Yes. That's something that is really, really cool. The fact that one of these scarecrows and the one that he thought was Cain is actually the lion was really cool. I love seeing Batman versus the Lion round 2. Again, Batman being impaired by the fact that he does not have his typical judgment. And this is really the fight where he's starting to realize the unique combination. This fight round 2 is a very critical round for Bruce. This does feel like a Rocky movie at a certain extent, where Rocky's finally uncovered the secret sauce. and that part is really, really great. The Lion's brilliant strategy here is knowing if Batman's impaired, I have an edge that he no longer has. And that part was, I loved every bit of the fight, the analysis. The quarantine costume is cool. Again, it's like another one of those bat suits that, has very functional purposes. And I like seeing the inventor Batman, we get to see him. He has that skill set. He is able to create things, and he has to, by necessity. You involve too many people, your secrets are going to be out.
Yes.
So all of that stuff fits, and the Lion just looks cool. The Amber Eyes bit was a good choice because he just looks like something different. He looks like he should be a Bond villain, and it fits the Batman world.
Oh, big time. 100%. And I loved some of the stuff where the fact that he doesn't have his fear in the fight, he's just swinging wild. Bruce, I'm talking about. And he's leaving himself open, because part of the thing on a fight is you got to hold back. You got to, take the block and, block and strike kind of stuff. If you have no fear to protect yourself, you're just going to be swinging. And that's what the Lion's taking advantage of. And I love that, and again, I also love the fact that even in his compromised state, he's still Batman. He's still able to analyze and still able to figure stuff out. But the part that made me just cheer out loud was he's like, Lion's like, I didn't think you'd be so fearless yet so careless. It was very stupid to come here alone. I'm not alone. I love that. And I love the fact that he goes, I wasn't afraid to ask for help. How awesome is that? The full Bat family showing up. I cheered at that panel.
Yes.
It was one of those, this right here is a great thing. And again, I also missed stuff. And that's how awesome the story is, in that I was so captivated by seeing all the Bat family coming in. I wasn't catching all the details. And I think that is one of the brilliance of this story, that after reading it, going back and rereading it a second time, you notice the groundwork that they laid out.
2 Batman family members that aren't there, Jason and Tim.
Right.
Which shows just continuity ties and things like that as far as where things are going right now. I liked that. I actually thought that it starts to establish, I know where we're at timeline-wise with this story. It's pretty cool. So I really liked that aspect. I thought this team up was awesome.
Yeah.
When we get to see this, there's nothing more cool than seeing the Bat family teamed up together. I do like that Bruce is not realizing they've been infected.
Right.
And
I like Bruce doesn't realize they've been infected. I like the fact that Bruce couldn't smell the gas that was throughout the cornfield.
Yep.
Damian called him out on that, where, he's like, you don't smell it, and right before Batman, you can't smell that, right before they light it up, and again, because of his mask, he wouldn't, because of the suit, he wouldn't recognize that. He wouldn't be able to smell that. And I love the fact that when, the bad guy is realizing, okay, we're kind of, we're a little bit on the backside, let me just take care of this, and damages the suit. Doesn't go after Bruce, but goes after the suit.
Well, it's the Lion who did that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually love that he put back on the mask.
Yeah.
All for the purpose of blending in so nobody knows exactly where I'm at. You're not watching WWE right now, but they've been doing Seth Rollins, this hooded figure storyline. And in there's been points in time where Seth Rollins has had some of his trainees from his academy kind of dressed up as him as a hooded figure. And they've done things where they have come into the ring in large numbers and surrounded him, and then you don't know where he's at.
Nice.
And because they're all wearing the hoods. So he's taken off the hood and put the hood back on and done some of this. So cool that this is happening in the comics with this storyline. I thought some people didn't like it. I thought it was cool to see it in execution. I'm wondering if I thought it was cool because I saw it here. And I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of neat and all that. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool to see it actually happen in real life. This worked really well. Rereading this, knowing what was going on and what Damien was doing, rushing towards the fire, was really interesting because I'm like, I did not catch the first time around that he was infected. I thought he was Damien being Damien, and Dick Grayson was catching him. Watching it through, I'm like, oh, it's more than that, because you're right. It ties into the hug with Bruce and things like that. We see signs that the members of the Bat family were infected with this different variant. Because Bruce has got that infectious, accelerated variant that like is meant to hammer him, on a very different level than everybody else. They've got the same ones that the people of Gotham have been hit with. I love this. I love everything about this.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, like you, I 100% did not catch this. I was thinking it was Damien being Damien. He's running after the bad guy, and Nightwing saves him. What are you doing? I'm not letting you run into a fire.
Yeah.
Flat out laying it out there. I'm like, oh, and I'm like kicking myself for missing it, but it's absolutely brilliant writing because they laid this out so perfectly that Batman's prevented the city from being infected. And this is they're working so the Lion can't release it into the city. The Lion's already released it. All the Bat families are 100% affected, and you're seeing it very subtly. I loved how this played out. This, for me, was absolutely brilliant.
As we go to the next issue, I do want to shout out Wayne Faucher and Norm Rapman on inks. Mikel Janin does some of his own inks in this one, but does also receive some assist from Wayne Faucher and Norm Rapman on this. I just wanted to shout it out. Another fantastic cover. There has not been a dud cover on this, and I'll actually go ahead and say it because we'll talk about the next issue after this. There is not a dud cover in this. Every one of them is really cool. Yeah, I like when you get the creative team on the covers.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. And this is one of those where they could actually do a full size poster, have all 6 covers. Yeah, because they've done that before.
Sure.
Where you have all 6 images, and that would be an awesome look too.
Yeah. I haven't decided how I would want these yet. I let the artist put out something. But I will encourage everyone listening to this. We shout out this. I'd like this to be a poster, that to be a poster. If you don't go to comic conventions that have your favorite artists, start, because most of them bring prints. Some of them, I want to be very clear. Depending on your financial situation, a lot of them have original pages. You can buy covers. You can buy the actual pages of the artwork. So I really should pull back and say that. A lot of times my financials don't allow me to buy the original pages. I have some. There's some super collectors out there and of pages of the original. They have almost whole issues, or maybe have complete whole issues of some of their favorite books. Do yourself a favor when you go into a convention, give yourself some budget for at least prints, because you can get these covers a lot of times, and sometimes special created prints that are 11 by 17 or similar, depending on, the prints that they have put together from artists, and sometimes all kinds of wacky different sizes. Do yourself a favor, get them signed, get them framed, put it up somewhere. They're awesome conversation pieces. These things are available. So when we say this on the show, a lot of times, I wish that was a poster. Not 100% of them are, but a lot of them are available. If you track down a con where the artist is, they bring those in. And I encourage you to do that, because that's a lot of times how they pay for their tables. Original sketches, things like art prints, and of course, and full-blown commissions, and of course, selling their pages, the original artwork associated with this. So do yourself a favor and stop over and walk out with something that's super cool. Walk out with the experience of meeting that artist, and give yourself some collectibles. that are really, really cool to that moment. So I wanted to shout that out because we a lot of times throw this out like it's somehow like these things aren't available. A lot of times they really are. So it's not pie in the sky stuff we talk about on here. So, keep in mind, I'm sure if you encounter this artist, some of these prints are very well available right now, or the original page. They have websites too, so don't be afraid to seek those out as well. It's a great way to support the artist, but also to get that thing, that priceless collectible that you've been looking for. This is the lion is really a visual treat as a villain. Looks impressive. You're right about the nails and those pieces standing out, but I just love the white suit, and that he mentioned it earlier, how the white suit is, with blood and things like that, a sign of confidence.
Yeah.
And, that idea of courage, again, entering into this. But man, infected, contained, and mad as hell. There are some times where covers just nail it with the little dialogue pieces that are put on there. This cover really nails it.
Yes.
That's a print where I'm torn on that one. I kind of like that dialogue on the print. So then we're going back to then. And going back to the backstory of the lion and the scarecrow filling in the pieces about why the lion is so obsessed with Batman, why Batman is the trigger and the catalyst for this. So we're starting to learn how Batman created the Bond villain.
Yes.
And I loved this story. I love seeing young Jim Gordon. He keeps asking for his dad, and dad's a killer. And we see the first stages of the lion. He's clutching the lion there. And when he lashes out at Gordon, and Gordon's almost trying to, just asking who is this to try and connect with the kid mistakenly thinks that his security blanket's being taken away from him and lashes out at Gordon. I loved everything about that sequence because that is how, they didn't go to the clever trope of all of a sudden now this kid's embracing Jim Gordon. I loved that the kid didn't, because I think that's reality. This is very realistic in its portrayal.
Oh God, yeah. And I like the strike is kind of the open hand, kind of like, yeah, and it's like a paw strike.
Yes. Really cool.
That was some really good attention on just the terror of the kid. And again, he's asking for his dad. That this stuff makes sense, that this kid would be so terrified. I love this.
In order to move forward with trying to somehow bring this to a conclusion, Batgirl, helping him fill in some of the blanks too about Leo's story, foster home to foster home, Wayne Tech, in-home schooling and resources provided by the Wayne Foundation. And, Bruce linking back, Alfred and I always tried to make sure no one was left behind, thinking back to his own childhood. And that meeting between him and Leo was super awesome because Bruce, again, wants to take care of one of these foster kids and is trying to help set this kid on a path because he relates, right? And the kid's picking up that he's relating. Bruce gave him an award, but the award also has a cash prize to it that he didn't have before. And I love that piece. My father, when he passed, before he passed, I should say, he set up for John Carroll University an award that's about leadership and service. And every year we award $1,500 to a college graduate who's done some form of field experience service where they're going out in the field, they're helping the poor, they're helping the needy, they're helping really to get connected with a community and do something positive. And we usually look for the ones that aren't just doing it as far as the college experience, they're somehow incorporating that into their goals for the future. And the reason why I'm referencing it in regards to this, my father had a passion for that. Bruce has a passion for this. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool because this is exactly what you do. You have a personal connection to this. And my father had it from the fact that he went to the university and got that same experience from the university. Bruce is connecting to it because he's been through what this kid's been through. And he wants to try and, this kid does not have the advantages he had financially. So he's trying to set this kid up with a starter so that way he can be successful in what he's trying to do. He sees potential in this kid. This is establishing the hatred for Batman and the love for Bruce Wayne.
Yes,
I absolutely love everything about this because it's so organic. Even the foster parent, Bruce is building the bridge between Leo and the foster parent, where it's like, give this person a chance, like he had to do with Alfred, and maybe Leslie Tompkins and people like that around him. Bruce has experience with this. They're not a replacement for your parents, but these people do care, and you should give them a chance. I loved this. Such a great use of pages to establish a backstory for a character.
Oh, God. And it's also, it does show, because how earlier we had the great conversation between Leo and Bruce about how, the city just keeps, gut punching Bruce Wayne, but he still's there for him. Right here, you're seeing Bruce tell the kid when he was a kid, hey, yeah, stuff is bad sometimes, but, the city needs good people. It needs people who make it better. I love the fact that he's telling Leo it needs to make it better. So Leo's idea isn't to destroy Gotham. He honestly sees this as a way to make the city better.
Yeah.
And those are always the best villains who aren't doing the, I'm going to destroy the world. No, he thinks he's doing the right thing. It's some of the best Lex Luthor stories where he thinks, hey, I'm doing the right thing. There's so many stuff about this kid that I'm absolutely loving. And again, kudos on the art team. When Bruce and Leo are doing the picture, what's Leo doing? He's looking up at Bruce and smiling.
Yes.
He's not looking at the camera saying, geez. No, he's looking up at this person that he heroes, who his hero is. There's a picture of Bruce Wayne on the wall of the kid's house. I love how they set this up. And they gave us a couple pages of furthering this story, just really showing why this kid so loves Bruce Wayne. I love these couple pages. They took their time with it. Again, that's something they've been doing wonderfully in this story.
Yeah.
They're taking their time to build up the stuff. Who is Leo? We've got such a solid connection to this kid. We know who he is.
This situation where Bruce is like realizing the Oracle's actually bringing it to his attention. This is a man who hates Batman, but loves Bruce Wayne. And this is the piece where Bruce recognizes the foster mother's gone.
Yeah.
Leo got her out of there quickly. There's signs that the bags have been packed, but in a hurry. There's stuff clearly left behind. The signs are there. Bruce is recognizing that his judgment is impaired, has not yet realized he's not the only one. We're seeing the first signs with Oracle here. She's saying that I'm fine, I can handle this and all that. She's going into utter chaos. And boy, it read one way the first time through. I read it the first time through, and I'm going to admit this fully. I read it as confidence. So Becker's confidence in herself, recognizing that Bruce has got a lot on his plate. So she's going to handle this, not trying to worry him. The second time through, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so full on infected here.
Yes.
And I did not read that way the first time through.
Me neither. 100% did not see that. And I love the fact that Bruce is like going, hey, I know my judgment is affected. You need to clearly remind me if you need to tell me clearly if you require backups. Like, oh no, I got this. And I completely read it the same way you did.
Yes.
I did not read it that she did not have the correct judgment. And I was like, oh, that is so brilliant. I love this story. This story is absolutely wonderful.
And there's somebody listening to this that's going, I caught it that way. I'm like, good for you. And but I'm being transparent. I did not read it that way the first time through. And because I wasn't recognizing that the infection had already taken place in Gotham. Because I'm still on the race against time as Bruce trying to stop this from happening.
Oh, yeah.
Because we hadn't had established yet that there's different strains. So then we get to the backstory with Black Canary about remembering Leo. And I love that she's like, I know Leo by both names. And we get I love Wildcat. I love Wildcat. We're going to have to talk the JSA series.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to try to be good right now, and we'll talk about Wildcat in context of this story.
Yeah. If you're not reading JSA, there's a great Wildcat stuff that happens in JSA.
Yeah.
100% recommend anyone to read, and we will talk about it. But
yeah, I think
that's all we're going to say.
I'm going to say for sure what I'd like to do is that year one story arc that's going on right now. So that's a for sure that we're going to cover on the show. But I would read the issues before that just to kind of see where we're at with JSA. Digging right now, him training Leo. And I like that Leo's not ready to interact. He's still got the fear. I love as he gets more confident with his training, he asks, and what was the name of the fighter? The Beast. The Beast. And I love that, this leads to Leo going in there and knocking down the Beast. And he took his name, the Lion, from there, the King of the Beast. And he, again, was undefeated until Black Canary defeated him, which this so ties in. If you haven't read Black Canary Best of the Best, we've done a couple episodes on it. Read Black Canary Best of the Best. It so connects with this right here in the coolest ways. I just love like a shared universe when you get stories where it's like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome.
And I love the fact that Wildcat's like, hey, it's okay, champ. You learn more from a loss sometimes. And he's just trying to keep the kid encouraged. But that triggers the bat stuff again.
Yep.
And once again, he got his fear back. So he got scared again and disappeared. That was the last they ever saw of him. I love the fact that it was just that, again, Leo still had that fear of the bat in him. Even though he was doing awesome work here, he was going to be he was going to be a champion, but he still had that fear in him. He still had to get rid of it. That was awesome.
The Lion is out there. I may not be able to find him before he initiates an attack. And I love that Bruce is starting to recognize that. He also doesn't realize the attack's already happened. That piece is really, really good. The Gotham Infectious Disease Center and seeing this squad that's been put together. And boy, is it a who's who. We got Jonathan Crane, Natasha Irons, Beth Chappell, Ray Palmer, Ted Cord, Shea Veritas, William Magnus, and Lana Lang from Steelworks. It's so cool to see all of these characters brought together. This is the Brain Trust, which is what he wanted. It's interesting to see when you've got some villains at the table, especially the Scarecrow, that, he brings brilliance to the table, but he brings his flavor of brilliance. And they're all recognizing that, like, we can calm down with your ideas over there. The dialogue interchange with all of this was something that really I appreciated, seeing the Brain Trust kind of working together and being checks and balances. You actually see how he's an effective member of this team because of the fact that they're putting checks and balances on him.
And again, I love they pull him in, the fact that he's part of this whole thing, but I love seeing Lana Lang there. I love when people remember that Lana Lang isn't just Superman's ex-girlfriend.
Right.
She's actually a smart cookie. She's smart. It's there's an intelligence there. She is the scientist. And I love the fact that we're not forgetting that. And I love the fact that we have that in there. I'm like, this is awesome. And when I love the fact that Bruce has a plan, but we don't know the plan. All we know is everyone's reaction to it. And I love the fact that I don't like it, and then the fact that Scarecrow likes it. They're like, oh, great. The Scarecrow approves of it. I love how they did this, that they don't tell us exactly what the plan is. And I was like, oh, what is the plan? What is the plan?
I like that he's saying that we're not going to use a child as a guinea pig too.
Yeah.
Which is very Batman. I mean, he's testing it on himself. I'm like, okay, what is this thing? I did not see that coming until he started pulling, it was like the next page where he started pulling that in there. I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's going to use Crane's. I will say that it started to lead me to, is he going to use Crane's fear toxin? I didn't catch it initially, but I did in the first read through start wondering to myself, is that what he's going to do? Because Scarecrow's present. And him liking it so much, I'm like, oh, are we going here with this? And I love the way that played out.
Yes. And I love how everything laid out, where Bruce is going to the gate. Robin is going off to investigate another trap, which it turns out. But I love how Bruce just is willing to send Robin out there. Robin's like, hey, I got this, no problem. Which, again, I didn't read as Robin was infected.
Well, they're investigating. So Bruce, I don't think this is a danger of Robin's infection here. What this is Bruce is sending Robin to follow up on the clue that he was supposed to follow up on. Because Bruce was at Wayne Manor, he couldn't.
Yeah.
So Robin was sent in, and that's where the lion is. If Bruce was not Bruce Wayne, Bruce would be where Robin is right now. That's the piece that the lion could not have factored in on. It's the Bruce Wayne variable of all this.
Yes.
So that piece with him being at Wayne Manor and being face-to-face with those events right now that's where the lion, this is the flaw in it. You're supposed to be somewhere else. And knowing that a kid was put into that situation and Robin was put into that, I loved that. I love that this trap was meant to be sprung on Bruce and it's sprung on Robin. I don't think this was part of Robin's impaired judgment at this point. I don't think it was also a part of Batman's impaired judgment. It all depends, because if Bruce recognizes that the nugget was there because of the fact that he was being led, then I would say it's Bruce's impaired judgment because he's not seeing that he was meant to be there because the lion put another clue in place. So I'd say it's more Bruce's impaired judgment than Damien's, because I would say out of the two, Bruce should be the one that would catch it.
But also, Damien on the scene would have caught the bomb if he wasn't impaired. He would have caught the trap, and he maybe not have walked into it because Damien openly just walks into the trap, walks up to the vehicle instead of doing the Damien thing to make sure it's secure and safe.
Fair.
Damien just walks right into it.
Fair argument.
So, there's some of this is on Damien as well. And again, it's
I'm gonna pull back my thoughts on that one. I'm gonna go. You know what? You got a fair argument there. Sure, but the fight with the flames that are there and what's going on with Bruce, I love that this sets the establishment of a very important piece. He was there. The lion was there to check on a friend. That's the only reason he's at Wayne Manor. This is not a part of his trap. This is what he was trying to do with the foster parent he's trying to do with Bruce. And I love that this is something that's easy to dismiss early on, but sets the stage for the reveal of the cure later. This was very well played. I love this layout.
Right. And again, I love how as Leo and Bruce are having their conversation, Leo and Batman are having their conversation, Leo's laying out what happened.
Yeah.
The night of that first fog rolled in, that fog wasn't a natural fog.
Mm-hmm.
That was him. So the one main boat that was designed to trap Batman, but the fog was something else. It was created 5 miles out to sea. I was like, or half a mile out to sea on 5 tanker ships. I'm like, outstanding. And I'm like, oh, this is absolutely brilliant. And I do love how he's laying out to Batman. Oh yeah, he ran into trap unafraid. You can't reach Oracle. Why is that? I love just the fact that he even calls on the fact that Bruce is so calm as he's talking. Why? Because he's not afraid. There's no fear in Batman now. He's been so infected that he's completely lost his judgment. This for me was one of those oh my God moments where, after reading this, you go back and you reread everything and you're like, holy crud. This is, why didn't I see this before? And, and I tell you, it's one of those brilliance of a story that they wait till part 5 of the 6-parter to really give you the final hook, the final swerve. And I'll tell you, I didn't see it coming, and I love this. The fact that I didn't see it coming, and then the reread after knowing the truth is just made the story even more gooder.
Jumping into the final issue, 1106, and just taking a look at that cover. I love these close-ups when you get a close-up of the characters, especially when you're doing such a cool costume as this quarantine suit that Bruce has got. Yeah. The crack around the eye, know that the quarantine's been broken. And I love you see Bruce, just with that determination. I'm not afraid. Just a great way to kind of cap this off. Jumping us back into the confrontation with the lion and saying that this has been going on for days. And I love, we see a young couple will you marry me? And she's, no fear, yes. You see a guy that's, I quit on his job. You see a woman and her child escaping from clearly an abusive situation. Arabella, keep this hidden until you're ready to know the truth. And, I'm guessing a son coming out to his parents is from what it seems to look like there. I just, all of those pieces being out there, kind of continuing to build fear pieces. If the Killer Croc piece was a good one too, where we got to see Killer Croc behind the scientist. And again, courage and fear being a thing. The kids climbing up on the train and, just come on, all of those pieces were just really, really cool. And to your point, I think this establishes that the intention of the writer was for Damian and Batgirl both to be in their situations because they have been infected, because we see, Damian laying down there. We see Batgirl, about to be taken out by overwhelming numbers. So I think it establishes that Tom Taylor's intention is exactly how you read it.
Yeah, and again, I love how not having fear was actually really some positive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Especially this mother and her daughter leaving what appears to be an abusive relationship.
Right.
I love the fact that they had that. And
it's not all bad.
And I want to know what the secret is, because that's something that they don't ever really show. And again, is that going to play out in a future story? That was the first thought that popped in my head.
I'm guessing, I'm guessing not.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we're not supposed to know.
Right.
I think that's one of those things where I actually like. Here's the thing: if there was an intention for that to be a story piece, cool, and I'll be glad to read it. I wouldn't be surprised though if the intention there was to say it's a secret and you're never going to know what it is, and that's okay. Especially now that there's a reason for that secret to remain hidden because that person's going to have fear again if they've already opened it up. Commissioner Savage and Jim Gordon having that moment where Gordon, the fear is gone for Gordon. And so Savage is infected too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking that Savage is infected as well.
Right.
Because again, as evil as Savage is, he wouldn't give the order for the police to shoot on sight just because there would be such a fallout for it.
Takes away his control
and all that. So that throws away his fear.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon has no fear, so he cold cocks Savage, or he throws a punch. Savage can take a punch, so that probably didn't knock him out, but still, I loved seeing this. And I love the fact that the mob that's attacking the police station, they're no longer afraid of the police. Mm. They're no longer afraid of this corrupt system that Gotham has. And they're rising up. And it's like, I was like, oh man, there's so many levels of no fear that this is pulling out. I love this.
Right. Yeah, everything about that's cool. The fear reveal, the fear toxin reveal, when it actually happens and seeing how it was going to be incorporated. At this point in time, I was expecting this. What you don't expect, how is it going to play out? What is that going to look like? I loved the interplay of this, the removing of the K. It feels like, Bane taking out his, Bruce then injects himself and the scream over there and seeing him go through. My mind is a battlefield, comfort and pain, love and rage, nurture and loss. Then outside my mind, there's a blow, and the nightmare stands over me. And I love him seeing the lion almost the way the lion has seen him for years was so awesome. And Bruce, it feels good. It was so, I really, really liked the visuals. The fact that Bruce is feeling more Batman, if that makes sense. There's comfort in the fear. I know fear, and I can work with this, and I can plan, which you could see for him finding the comfort in that, once again, the ability to plan. And the battle goes so different. I loved the battle here. Everything, it was a Rocky moment where Rocky's getting back up, and now all of a sudden he's continuing on with the fight, and I loved how this fight played out. The lion no longer has that, because Bruce is recognizing now he has been well trained, but he's well trained in one discipline.
Yes. And again, Bruce has studied this, and I love how Bruce actually takes him down. He blocks, he parries. He knows how to. Bruce is able to actually get back to a real fight sequence. But I do love the fact that, the Lion's not thinking that the Batmobile is going to run into me, right? Because he's not thinking any fear. He's got no fear. Well, use that against him. Hits him with the Batmobile.
Right.
That's going to take out the fight.
Yeah. Again, planning. Now Bruce is planning versus, using the poor judgment. And that part was once you've got a Batman who's planned, it's very hard to overcome him. Seeing Mr. Terrific with the T-Spears and what's going on here, the fact that there's multiple plans at work here really stands over, Bruce, we've gotten past the point where we can stop this. This has already been infected. So now we have to go with round 2, which crop dusters to rain down Jonathan Crane's. And I love that Bruce would not do this until he tested it on himself.
Right.
He knows now this is safe to do. It's going to have an impact on them, but it's going to, give them a chance to be saved. I like that the people are almost killed.
Yeah.
The crop dusters don't impact in time, and the Batmobile has to jump in the way. I'm thinking of, The Dark Knight, where Commissioner Gordon was going to be killed by the Joker, and the tumbler flew in front of the bullets. This reeked of that awesomeness, and I loved the way that the Batmobile swung into action for this. Is that the same Batmobile that was off-roading? It is, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a cool Batmobile. And Batman using the fear to go on all the screens and just be basically the demon to all of them. Go home.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The fact that Bruce has this lined up already.
Yes.
Full takeover, all emergency broadcast systems, main square screens. The fact that Bruce is already ready for this to happen. It's not let me make this happen. No, he's already just hit the button and go.
He had that in play for years, though, I bet you.
Yeah.
That isn't something for this. That is, obviously it was part of the plan for this, but I guarantee you this wasn't a system that he had to put in place. He's got that grid under his control. Yes. Super cool.
It adds to it. I love this. And again, it was one of those neat moments of, just again, using the fear, getting people, making people afraid again. And I do love how we see it works and the heroes save the day. And I did air quotes around save the day. But when you flip the page and you start seeing the results from it as well, where the one lady who said yes immediately is like, no. The guy who quit just wrote a quick email, hey, sorry for my previous email. And then the one that hurts is the lady, and her kid returning back to the abusive situation. And again, I was like, oh man, that's the one that hurts. That's the one that, really does, dig at you. And it makes you wonder how much right and wrong. It's those great Luthor Superman debates where if Luthor and Superman could work together, life would be so great. If they could find a good balance of no fear and fear, the Gotham could be cured.
Yeah.
But you can't have it one extreme or the other. You've got to have that compromise, and that's the hard part about this.
The confrontation with the Lion towards the end of this story, where Bruce is debating whether or not to take off his cowl and to talk to the Lion. Courage or fear? I think it's courage to not tell him.
Yeah.
And the reason being is I think in the future it's going to be useful if the Lion comes back again for him not to know.
And he's Bruce Wayne.
Right. But that piece was, I think the hard part was not to tell him there, because Bruce wants him to understand. Bruce wants to somehow cure the fragile relationship with this kid and just say, listen, if you understand my duality, maybe you'll understand a little bit more why I had to do what I had to do. And the harder part is to protect the identity. I think it was courage. I don't think it was fear. I think it was true courage with the careful planning due to the fact of a healthy balance of courage and fear.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If I was Batman's confidant, I would have agreed 100% with him not revealing it. Because I think at this point in time, as much rage and anger that's going on in him, he would not have seen, he would have only seen this as a betrayal of the one person that he trusted, not as maybe I judged Batman wrong. This guy needs to have Bruce Wayne in his life to actually maybe help him heal.
Yeah.
If Bruce had taken off the cowl and revealed himself, he would have taken away the one thing this guy has.
Right. I agree.
Or the one thing this guy needs. Yeah.
Yeah. The test, and I did not catch this the first time through. It's time to test the theory. I thought he took it to Mr. Terrific to test the theory. If you take a look at the bottle, when he gets it to Mr. Terrific, it's been partially used. And I did not catch that the first time through. It was the second time, like, oh, doggone it. He had already tested it on himself, just like he did the fear toxin. And I loved the way that played out because he knew then it was the cure and gave it to Terrific to be synthesized. That part was really, really good. And I love that they ended up saving the kid because there was the race against time where is it or is it not too late for this child? I'm glad that the kid was cured as well. The confrontation with the Lion with Bruce Wayne, I loved that it ended with this idea of them being kids, like ripping away all of the pretense of being adults, two kids connecting over the fact that they were both scared. And that fear kind of made them who they are now, and that they were connecting over being, once again, the two hurt children of Gotham. And, even the Lion, Leo, acknowledging, I know this is disappointing. I know I'm disappointing to you as far as this, but I won't let him win. And I think I understand why you keep trying, because this city scared you too, didn't it? And it's sad to see Leo so far gone, but I love that Bruce is not prepared to give up on him.
Yeah. Because
he's still seeing that kid that he tried to save all along. This was really a sweet ending. And I just loved it. I thought this is just really a great story. I'm glad we had a chance to cover it because of just how cool it was. I think this is an example of just an amazing Detective Comics story.
Dude, this right here is a brilliant roller coaster of emotion and story, and I absolutely love this. And again, I love the fact that, Leo's in Arkham for about 2 weeks before Bruce really visits him.
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks later. So again, the city has to recover, and who knows, maybe he couldn't even get to see Leo until then, but I do like the fact that Bruce comes to see him and talks to him. And there's a chance that maybe Leo will be able to be healed, but I don't know. It's one of those things where, Bruce Wayne's going to keep working on it. But, the Lion is not going away. I think we're going to get more stories with the Lion, and I'm looking forward to him because he is an absolute great villain, because he has the declaration of, I won't stop. I won't let him win. I love the fact that he doesn't know that Bruce is Batman. I love that.
Deacon Blackfire, Bane, Hush are cautionary tales with the Lion. Sometimes less is more. So I would love to see the Lion again. I want to see the Lion again. I want to see the Lion carefully used instead of get ruined by overusing the character and kind of losing what makes him special. So I'm with you. I do think and hope we will see the Lion again when there's a story worthy of being a sequel to this. That's what I want to see. I don't need this to be shoveled out there just because the Lion's cool. Don't use this character carefully, because this character's cool. There's room for more.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
Want to remind everybody, RagingBullets.com. RagingBullets.com is our show website that you can find details on upcoming episodes and news revolving around the show. We feed into Twitter/X. We also feed into our Facebook fan page if you prefer to get that information that way. We also have an amazing Facebook group community, and I want to thank everyone that posts there. It's where I get my news, but also it's follow-ups on our episodes. What are your thoughts? What kind of things do you want to talk about? RagingBullets@gmail.com is where you can connect with us and send us emails for the show, for reading on the show, and audio comments for on the show. And I always prefer audio comments just because of the fact that we're an audio podcast, so I love to put them out there. But emails, audio comments, anything you want to share. If you want us to talk about something further on the show or you have ideas and thoughts, please send them that way because we love hearing from you and want you to be interactive with this podcast as well. And consider it yours. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Seguin, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
DCKO hardcover, 38% off, $18.59. DCKO trade paper, 48% off, only $10.39. DCKO Battle Royal trade paper, 48% off, $10.39. Justice League Unlimited trade paper, 38% off, $11.15. DCKO All Fight trade paper, 38% off, $12.39. And DCKO Superbad trade paper, 38% off, only $11.15. Thank you, DCBS.
Everett and InStockTrades.com. DC Compact Comics. These are an affordable way to get amazing DC stories. They have Batman The Dark Knight Returns trade paperback just in time for its anniversary. This is a 200-page trade paperback. $9.99 regularly, 48% off, only $5.19 for a reader's copy for this. Oh my gosh, pick this one up. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for supporting our show. The About Us section of our show websites where you connect with some gaming platforms and personal social media. I am a regular co-host on Is It Jaws bi-weekly. We do a film review podcast. Paul Spataro was kind enough to invite me to join the cast on there. We have wonderful guests that come on to talk about films and using the Jaws 1 through 4 scale for reviews. So if you're interested in film reviews at all, please check out Is It Jaws. Our next episode, Jim and I are going to be back and we're going to be talking about Vertigo titles, similar to what we're doing with DC Next Level. And we have 3 books we're going to discuss: Bleeding Hearts, End of Life, The Perils of the Brutal Dark, and Ezra Cain Mystery. We're doing issue number 1 of all 3 of those books as a teaser for those of you that might be interested in checking out whether or not you want to read those Vertigo books. We will see you next week.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Sean,
it's right
Jim,
there.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our